5 tips for setting boundaries with people who try to squash your weirdness. You've been told that you have a unique personality, and there are some people in your life who have tried to squash that. Unfortunately, you struggle with setting boundaries, but the good news is you're not alone. This is something that a lot of people seem to struggle with. In this tutorial, we'll explain 5 tips for setting boundaries with those who are trying to stifle your uniqueness. There are 2 main functions of boundaries. They tell others how you want to be treated, protecting you from being mistreated. They build a healthy separation between you and others, allowing you to have your own space/privacy as well as your own ideas, thoughts, feelings and needs. You're free to be yourself instead of simply an extension of someone else, or who/what someone else wants you to be. If you never experienced clear, consistent boundaries and/or expectations when you were growing up, it's probably not natural for you. You may feel like you don't deserve to ask for what you want/need. However, you can release these negative beliefs regarding boundaries. The following 5 tips will help. Be clear. Before you start establishing boundaries, you must be clear about what it is that you want and why that's important to you. This will help you explain what you need and help you maintain your stance when things get tough. If you're trying to establish a difficult boundary, it may be helpful to jot down what it is that you want and why. Some people find that writing out a script and rehearsing it decreases their anxiety. Be direct/don't apologize. When you communicate your boundaries, it's best to be direct and concise. If you try to explain, justify, or apologize for your boundaries, your message isn't as strong. Whatever you do, keep it simple and keep in mind that you have every right to ask for what you want/need. You don't need a reason. Expect resistance. When you start establishing boundaries, some people will not respond gracefully. This is usually the people that have been benefiting from your lack of boundaries. They don't want you to change. Some of them will use anger to try and manipulate you and get you to change your mind. Others just need some time to adjust to the new you. One of the reasons people don't set boundaries is because they want to avoid conflict or upset anyone. When people don't like the boundaries you're trying to establish, it's easy to revert back to your former passivity. However, even if your boundaries do provoke resistance or anger, you should never not set them. You just need to take steps to protect yourself. When people fight against your boundaries, it only confirms that they're needed. It's an ongoing process. If you've got any experience with children, you know that you've got to set rules repeatedly and be clear with them about what you expect. The same thing needs to be done when setting boundaries with adults. You can't just set it and forget it. You'll likely need to set the same boundary over and over with the same person. Then, as needs change, you may need to establish different boundaries. They are for your well-being. You should never use boundaries to control/punish others. Boundaries should be used as a form of self-face, something you do for your personal well-being. They help you avoid being taken advantage of, being overworked, physical/emotional abuse or harm, overcommitting yourself, or feeling overwhelmed. Conclusion. You've got a very unique personality, but unfortunately there are people in your life that will try to squash that. However, you must keep in mind that you matter. Your feelings, dreams, needs and ideas are all important. You can establish parameters of how people are allowed to treat you. These 5 tips can help you set boundaries with people who try to squash your uniqueness. 5 tips for getting comfortable in the uncomfortable. As humans, we believe that stress is a bad word. We do whatever we can possibly do to avoid it. However, the truth is, sometimes stress can be beneficial because it gets us out of our comfort zone, which can launch us into success. One of the worst things you can do to your career, or even to your life, is to remain too long in your comfort zone. Unfortunately, when you don't get uncomfortable, you don't grow. If you don't grow, you get stagnant, which is never a good thing. If you ever want to reach your true potential, you need to experience a bit of stress and discomfort. In this presentation, we'll give you 5 tips for getting comfortable in the uncomfortable. Remove frustration from your vocabulary. Over the past few years, one of the primary leadership buzzwords has been resiliency. which of course has different meanings for different people. However, for most people, this term means to be as strong as possible by being adaptable when things change and removing the word frustration from your vocabulary. The emotion of frustration is a man-made one that can be eliminated once you understand and acknowledge that every problem does have a solution. As a strong, resilient leader, you must learn to break down the problem into the smallest possible components to find the solution. This will help you become stronger and more resilient and eliminate frustration. Focus on short-term resolutions / small wins. The next tip for becoming comfortable with the uncomfortable is to leverage small wins and short-term resolutions. This means that you must be taking each day as it comes, focusing only on what is under your control, and then find the places where you can have small wins and only need short-term resolutions. The small wins not only build your own confidence, but can also help to build the confidence of your team. Then, as you begin to connect your short-term wins to create long-term wins, your confidence will increase and you'll become more comfortable with the uncomfortable. Follow your intuition. When you're feeling uncertain and uncomfortable, you'll only increase your discomfort if you start to overanalyze and/or overthink the situation. One of the best things to do is to trust your own intuition and feel confident that even if you do make a mistake, it'll be easy to fix. Find ways to proactively innovate. When you react to what's going on around you, the chances that you will feel uncomfortable are increased. However, you can take action by evaluating the situation and challenging the situation at hand. When you are the one that is driving the situations in your world instead of reacting to them, you will be much more comfortable with being uncomfortable. One of the ways that you can do this is to find ways that you can innovate the current situation. Unlearn and relearn new things. One of the main reasons why people are uncomfortable as a leader is that they're stuck in their old ways of thinking. When you can unlearn some of these old thought processes, you'll be a lot more comfortable with being uncomfortable. Conclusion. As humans, we often do whatever we can to remain in our comfort zone. We don't want to be uncomfortable. However, if you never get uncomfortable, you will never grow, which means you'll be stuck for a very long time. On the other hand, if you can implement some of these 5 tips for getting comfortable in the uncomfortable, you'll see growth like you've never seen before. 5 tasks to help you understand your weirdness. If you really stop and think about it, there's no one that has been successful that is 100% normal. Plus, it takes guts to be weird and use it to your advantage. As a general rule, weirdos are made fun of, ignored, referred to as crazy, and are often loners. If you've ever been called weird, don't fret too much over it. The truth is, it's probably a good thing. You must learn to use your uniqueness to your advantage. You need a strong sense of confidence to let your weirdness show because people are mean. They're going to criticize you, make fun of you, and even laugh at you. In this presentation, we'll take a look at 5 tasks that can help you understand your weirdness and learn to use it to your advantage. 5 tasks to understand and use your weirdness. Don't confuse weird with jerk. The title of weird is not the same thing as being a jerk, therefore don't use it in that way. Be weird, but don't be rude about it. Stand up for your uniqueness. The truth is, it's hard to be weird. Chances are you've learned by now that many people have difficulty accepting anyone who is different than they are. People are going to do whatever they can to make you normal. They may physically beat you up, or they may tease or ignore you until you comply. Sure, being weird is hard sometimes, but if you own it and don't back down no matter what, those in your life will learn to love you for it. Don't shy away or try to hide. Unfortunately, many times people get into situations and their weird starts to show, and instead of letting it happen, they bury it as quickly as they can before anyone else catches a glimpse of it. The truth is, weird is part of who you are, whether you like it or not. If you attempt to hold it in, you're not being true to who you are, which is the worst thing you can do. You're special because of your weirdness, and if you nurture it, it'll grow and you'll be able to use it to your advantage. Prepare for a different lifestyle. One thing you must keep in mind when you are weird is that your lifestyle is going to be completely different from that of anyone else. You may decide that you want to move into a hut and become a painter. Then again, maybe you want to investigate paranormal activities. Most people are not going to understand you, and the hard part is some of those people will be those that you love deeply. However, no matter what, you must always be true to who you are. This is your life, and you only get to live it once. You must do whatever makes you happy. It's fine if you need to be selfish and never look back. Stop caring. This is one of the hardest things you'll have to do, and truthfully, no one ever completely masters it. However, the less you care, the more your weirdness will thrive, which means your happiness will increase because you're being true to yourself. Of course, some people change based on their environment. You may have to tone down your weirdness in certain situations, as some people may get overwhelmed with you. Ultimately, you must be true to who you are. Avoid those who don't support you as much as possible. Conclusion. If you really think about it, most of the really successful people in the world have a bit of weirdness in their personality. Sure, it takes guts to be weird. As a general rule, weird people are shunned. However, the truth is, you must learn how to understand your weirdness and use it to your advantage.